Well, welcome to the Top Gun Show. Today we have Dr. Brett Christie. He's the Director of Learning Experience and Design for O'Donnell Learn. O'Donnell Learn designs and launches better educational products and digital learning experiences. Brett has over 25 years experience in higher education, primarily with the California State University system. First as a faculty, and then various system-wide leadership roles related to quality teaching and learning. He is also a fellow workspace worker with me at CoLab here in Santa Rosa, California. Brett, welcome to the show.
Great, thanks, Steve, for having me.
Yeah, you've got a very timely, interview here with what's going on with higher education, doing remote university training and things like that. So I know your company does training on how to deliver higher education. So how do you quickly train higher education to deliver meaningful and effective course content?
Yeah, the quickly is the tricky part, in working with faculty and trying to get them to see what can be done, what tools to adopt, and how to be able to get through that process, hopefully in a positive experience for themselves and for their students. What we saw in spring was kind of a crisis triage mode of just trying to get courses online in a matter of a few days. Often when faculty were away in spring break, students were away and all of a sudden their world was flipped as far as life as they know it. Work, families, relationships, school, all of that had changed overnight. So, that was sort of the triage and trying to just get stuff going and upload it. And that's what we saw in spring was really ineffective experiences where a lot of content just got thrown up into the cloud. There was a full asynchronous experience. There was a lack of engagement. So, in pausing from that and in where we are now in this extended pandemic and looking at fall, which we'll talk about in a little bit for a similar scenario, it's really about giving faculty the tools and the process to try and figure out how can they do that most effectively, bringing their course into a whole new realm.
Yeah, and you and I have talked because we work together in the same building here. And it's not, you don't design the curriculum that they need to teach. You just educate them on how to how to deliver a better educational experience for colleges and universities. So with the current COVID crisis, what's the near and long-term outlook for higher education as we know it today?
Yeah, what the outlook is how can we try and provide an experience for faculty that can set them up for success for themselves and for their students? And what we do with O'Donnell Learn is we use what's called a purposeful learning framework. And we actually have the faculty who are the subject matter experts, that doesn't change. We have them evaluate their student learning outcomes and actually produce those in a way that are meaningful and measurable, and then go through a backwards design process to use those targets and then try and set up everything as far as the content, the course experiences, and the assessments to all lead toward those outcomes so that everything's sort of transparent and by design is going to get students along hopefully effectively. So we've been able to do that with a lot of our trainings and resources through O'Donnell Learn through this process. As far as what things look like overall for the near term and long term, I'm one that likes to be optimistic, but again, here we are in summer, things are as bad as they've been as far as the numbers. Since May, June, I felt like fall is just not going to happen. We're going to have a repeat. I've been tracking the numbers very closely since March as far as which campuses are saying we're going to be fully open in person, others that say we're doing hybrid, which is very vague, and then some that say they're doing online. And that went from being about 70% that were saying fully we're going face to face just about a month ago to now we're at over half that are saying, no, we're going online. And then there's about a quarter that are still undecided, which I think are going to shift toward online, and maybe even some of the face-to-face ones are going to have to shift last minute to online. So I think near term, fall semester, we're looking at emergency remote instruction part 2 overall, except for extreme cases that decide to go for it. I've seen creative solutions with tents being put up. UC Davis is going to try a lot of that. I saw Eckerd College in Florida announce this week they're going to go fully outdoor, all their courses, and make that work. I just wonder how that's going to happen, and I wish them luck. And for the safety of students, faculty, and staff, I'd like to see things like that happen. But I just don't feel like it's reasonable.
Yeah, interesting times for sure. You and I were talking about other options that are being developed that may change higher education in the future, like Google. Why don't you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, and so, again, this is sort of predictions and what I'm tracking out there with others that are doing some real nice futurist type of work with higher education is, we could well see many institutions go under. Those that don't go under will probably have to transform significantly to a whole different type of experience. And providing that whole different type of experience is, in many cases, going to involve maybe partnering with very large Fortune 500 type companies. Could be, Google, could be Amazon, who knows, could be others. So I think we're going to see some more partnering. I think we're going to see consolidations. As you mentioned, my experience with the CSU, we're looking at 23 campuses, 500,000 students, about 50,000 faculty and staff. How do you sustain that coming out of COVID? Does it end up being maybe 15 more regional type campuses for certain types of experiences and services, and then more online happening through a network of those campuses? So I think we're going to see a lot of shifting happening with online not going away, online being more prominent. I don't think it should be the only thing. I think the college experience has so many valuable elements that involve on-site type experience, student engagements, community engagements, service opportunities, all those things.
Yeah, great stuff, man. I really appreciate you being on the show. We always close the show with kind of a fun, entertaining fact about our guests. So why don't you share a little known fact, or how about the most famous person you'd like to meet or have met?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with one I'd like to meet. And this is when my head was really in this space thinking about our session today. I got to thinking about John Dewey, and John Dewey being a really famous educational philosopher, did most of his work in the late 1800s and to early 1910s, and thinking about, okay, if John Dewey were to just pop up today and see what was going on, and the real emphasis he had on experiential learning and teaching, and how we have struggled with that throughout time. And then here we are now at this turning point, this critical point. What would John Dewey think if you could all of a sudden expose John Dewey to all these different types of tools that have come up, and the online opportunities, and the way the student experience has changed and the faculty experience has changed? What would John Dewey say about some of the opportunities that are there? So I'd really like to have that beer with John Dewey over that.
That's really interesting. When I was in high school, we wore those wristbands, WWJD. What would Jesus do? Now we're changing them. We're changing them to WWJDD. What would John Dewey do?
I like it.
Well, hey, Brett, thanks a lot for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, and thanks for watching, everybody.